Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is Pastor Siri. I am a Lutheran pastor and a spiritual seeker. And today I wanted to talk about why I call myself a spiritual seeker. So take a listen. Every once in a while, I have people who challenge me or get triggered by the fact that I am a Christian Lutheran pastor. Well, a lot of people get triggered by that, but that's something else. But I also tag on spiritual seeker. And I remember a comment that's like, there's no way you can be a seeker. You found the truth. Therefore, what are you still seeking for? And I think that's a really great question. And I just want to explore that. So, one of the things I want to do is just tell you a little bit about why I became a pastor and my spiritual journey, because hopefully along the way that will help you to understand why I still consider myself a spiritual seeker. So, I grew up with my father as a Lutheran pastor. I had a lot of Lutheran pastors in my family, and lucky for me, I had a very positive experience with that. Now, I decided to go to seminary because I loved what I saw my father doing, but also at the same time because I was in contact with a lot of people who were struggling with their beliefs, and they often had been to church and they had asked questions they weren't supposed to ask. They had said something they weren't supposed to say, and they got a really negative reaction from their priest, from their pastor, from their Sunday school leader, and it really turned them off on faith. And I wanted to be that pastor who wasn't that way. I wanted to be that pastor who was open-minded, open-hearted, who encouraged thinking, who encouraged different perspectives, and that there wasn't a question that was off limits. There wasn't a way I was going to force you to believe anything. And along the way, in that whole process, I've been a pastor for almost 20 years. And in that 20 years, I have learned a ton that seminary could never have taught me. I've continued to learn and grow. And what I've done is spent time learning about other faiths: Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Wicca, New Age spirituality, in that I've taken classes on tarot and learned about crystals and just all sorts of stuff. I kind of go down rabbit holes and I keep learning about that. And I often find that it is not as scary as some people think it is, right? That there's often perspectives people have, oh, well, you don't want to like learn about them because they are this way. And I found that's not true. I found that the core of every faith and spirituality that I've learned about has beautiful truth to it, and a beauty that's unique, that they're presenting something unique to the world, almost like flavors of food. I like to liken religions and spiritualities to food, to music, to dress, even to language. How can you possibly say that one language encapsulates all that could be said by a human? How can you say that one style of food is it and there's nothing else that would ever be good? That's one of the fun things about the time in which we live on Earth, is not only can we travel, but the amount of what's available and what we can experience is so vast. And I can just go in my neighborhood. I do not have to leave my little city in order to try food from all over the world. And that's really beautiful. It's nourishing, it's tasty, it's unique, it's different. You can't confuse the two, but it's all nourishing. So as I have continued to go down these different rabbit holes, I find that my truth, what I see as truth and what I see as God just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like somebody blowing a balloon. It doesn't change, it expands. And to me, I think a lot of people are afraid because they feel like if they learn about this particular spirituality or faith in depth, that like a house of cards, you'll pull on that house of cards and everything will come crashing down. And if you do have a house of cards belief, where you have all these things you are not allowed to question. 6 days of creation, man is the head of the household. Everything in the Bible is absolutely, literally true, exactly the way it's described it to be, blah, blah, blah. Then yes, it is possible that when you start learning about things outside of that framework, it could be kind of scary, but I'm telling you, so many people have gone on that journey, and the other side, when they've kept asking questions and kept with it, is way better. The water over there is good. It's big, it's wide, it's expansive. It is fun and creative and interesting. What I have done too is I've had moments in my life, I'm going to be honest, where as I continue to learn about different faiths, I've had moments where I'm like, it resonates with me so much. Why don't we have that in Christianity? Should I like try that faith out? And for me personally, I believe that I'm supposed to be learning about those faiths and spiritualities to see how they complement the faith I grew up with, Lutheran Christianity, to expand it and to see that there isn't just one way, that they all have these different perspectives that are needed and are beautiful, but I'm always sent back to my faith. And so one of the images I also like to use, there's the balloon image, but I have this tree of life tattoo on my arm. Can't see it super well. But I like to say that the roots in which I grew up in is the Lutheran Christianity. And then these branches are all the learning I'm doing. It's the reaching and stretching out. And the deeper my roots here, the more I can reach out and still be strong. And all of the wind that pushes a tree makes the trunk stronger. And this whole process of the roots and the trunk and the tree, when they're all working together with deep roots and a strong trunk, it allows for flexibility, it allows for growth, it allows for reaching out and learning and touching other trees or whatever you want to do with that metaphor. So in that way, what I have found is I'm continue to go back to strengthen those roots as I go back up to reach out. So there's sort of this in-out movement that I experience. And every time I come back, it just enriches the faith. And it also points out the fallacies or the limitations of kind of the narrow traditional Christian thought. So I go out and I learn about other expressions of how God manifests and works in the world. And then I come back and I look differently at the creeds. I look differently at some of the doctrines that we have. And it helps me to honor the faith I have at its core, but also to ask the question, what is the core of what I believe about Jesus, about God? What can be changed? What can be transformed? And what can be released? And the more I learn and grow, the more I keep seeking for what is the biggest truth of the universe? What can my brain as a human actually hold? What is possible? What is the full reality of what is out there as much as I can understand it? The more I realize that there are some kernels of truth which will always stay, but that other things that maybe 20 years ago I thought were so important just aren't that important anymore. They just kind of fade away because I'm getting a broader perspective and I'm holding on to things a lot less than I did 10 years ago, than I did 20 years ago, certainly that I did 30 and 40 years ago. And I can only imagine and look forward to the fact that in 10 years from now and in 20 years from now, my experience of myself and my inner landscape and the world is just continuing to shift and hopefully get wiser and more compassionate along the way. I have learned, if I told you everything I've learned from all the different faiths and spiritualities and how that's affected my faith, we could be here all day. And I may do a series on what I've learned from different faiths in the future. But I just want to say that that's why I consider myself a spiritual seeker. The last thing I want to say is, it is okay if you're just a Christian, just a Muslim, just a Buddhist, just a Hindu, just to this. Like, your path isn't my path. But I want to say that if you're staying stuck in this idea that you have 100% of the truth and everybody else has zero the truth, I guess I can just attest to the fact that that just doesn't feel true for me. And there are things that we can learn from other people. We are meant to live and grow. Our human capacity to distort the truth, to misuse the truth, to not understand the truth means we have to constantly be thinking the full truth of God and the universe and science and mystery and mysticism and how it all intertwines is so rich and complicated. We're barely getting there. And so why would we not keep seeking for what is true and what is absolute? Every single time I have felt nervous and I have gone to a new place that I was like, I'm not sure if I should be going down this rabbit hole or not. Retrospectively, I've always found God waiting for me going, I'm here. I'm here too. I'm here too. Like, did you actually think there was any rabbit hole, any truth you could follow, any silver thread where I would not be there? Of course I'm here. So learn what you can from this place and take it back with you and become richer and wiser and more open-minded and more open-hearted towards people. And what I've done as a pastor too is it's been an asset, because not only does it open up the way I see Jesus and the Bible and the world in general, but then I have people who come to me who sense I might be a little open-minded because I mentioned something that wasn't completely black and white about something, and they'll be like, I've been really worried about my granddaughter who's like into crystals and, things like that, and kind of, maybe Wicca, and should I be worried? And I get to say, no. As a pastor, I have studied that, and there are beautiful things there. Every single faith and spirituality's core can have some beautiful things, and every single faith and spirituality can have things about it that are negative. There's no absolutes in that way. Therefore, what's the guiding light? What's the core? What's the heart? What's the purpose? If the purpose is to grow, to learn, to do no harm, to spread your wings, to find truth, that's a good guiding light. That's a good way to be. So I'm still learning. I really encourage you to be learning, even if it's scary. Start at a small place. Start at a simple place. And if you're in the company or sort of in that place where you're like, nope, you can't be a woman and a pastor. You can't be this and you can't be that. You can't be that. That sort of black and white thinking, truth never, ever can be in the cage of black and white thinking. She is bigger, wider, broader, more universal than we can ever imagine. And following through under the wings of wisdom and her guidance will lead us to places, if we're open, that are beautiful and magnificent and add magic to the world. And I don't know about you, but I want more mystery and magic and beauty in this world. I want that for you. I want that for me. So I hope this was helpful. I'd be curious where you are in your journey and any thoughts that you have, things that have shaped your mind and changed your mind in hopefully good and beautiful ways. All right, until next time, bye-bye.